All right. Can I confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Good news. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So indeed, like Madhura said, this writing club session is the first one for today. So what we wanted to do is to introduce something to essentially motivate us, to empower us, and essentially put us in the good mood when it comes to starting a year. So what we thought was it would be a great idea to discuss the empowerment of women through writing. So my name is Julia, and I'm a lead risk specialist at Swift, and also I'm a director at Women Coding Community. And I have quite a bit of experience when it comes to writing. So most of my career I've spent working as a management consultant, where we write a lot, and we need to write a lot with impact. And this is essentially to ensure that we win business, that we get the best reports out there. I also spent quite a bit of years on writing policies and standards and different procedures for different type of organizations. And also in my free time, I do contribute to some of the social media and blog post platforms, just to share my knowledge and expertise. So I thought it would be good if I share with you some of that today. So before I start, just a very quick word on our writing club. So just like Madhura said, here at Women Coding Community, we have many community channels, and writing club is one of them. So we started it in the, I would say, mid of last year, with running these sessions on a monthly basis, where essentially we come together and we help each other to develop writing skills and anything when it comes to writing. So this is from learning, practicing how to write. This is about learning different approaches, different methods and techniques. This is about coming together, providing each other feedback, and essentially having this safe space where we can come together and just have open and sometimes vulnerable discussions. Because I think when it comes to all sorts of different skills, I feel like writing is one of the most challenging ones, at least maybe based from my experience. So I think it took me a long time to practice that. So the reason why I've started this initiative, this writing club, is that I just would like to help everyone else to overcome a barrier when it comes to writing, and help you and everyone else to be more confident on getting their point across. So if writing is something that you would like to explore further, or you're just, feel free to join our Slack channel. So feel free to scan the QR code here and join the writing club channel, where we post things about the upcoming events, about some of the topics. Or if you have any other questions, feel free to find me on Slack or LinkedIn as well and ask a question. So that was a quick introduction to a writing club. And now, in terms of what we have ahead of us today, so we pretty much have quite busy schedule, busy agenda. So first of all, I wanted to start with discussing the power of writing. So provide you with some of the examples of why writing matters, especially for women, in technology. Discuss some of the examples of what we can write about. Also, then some tips and tricks when it comes to empowering writing. And then the third part of the session will focus on the practical part, right? So I prepared a writing activity where I was hoping we could all sort of put our hands down for like 10 minutes or so, practice writing, and then discuss it as a group. So that's the plan for today. So to start with the power of writing. So like I said, in this section, I just wanted to explore how writing can actually be used as a tool for visibility, for influence, and for empowerment for us, for women in tech. And I wanted to start this section by one of my most favorite quotes by Sheryl Sandberg. She's ex-CEO of Meta and also founder of LinkedIn, and she wrote a lot of incredible books which are quite life-changing. And what she said was that the most powerful tool in tech isn't actually a piece of code, it's your voice. So whether through writing, and she also suggested speaking and building, let your voice be heard. So obviously for the purpose of today, we're focusing more on writing, but the overarching message is that the voice and what we have to say is really important. And that's what I wanted to focus about, because when it comes to writing of others, and especially women, I find it so crucial, because whenever I read something like that, it makes me feel seen and makes me feel inspired and empowered. And that ultimately is the power of writing, right? It connects, it challenges, it uplifts. So today, that's something that I would like to dive in a little bit in more detail. So in terms of how exactly writing helps women to find the voice. So what I find is that ultimately it encourages to reflect on the experience. It allows to celebrate success and articulate thoughts clearly. By publishing and sharing our written work, we ultimately build confidence in our knowledge, in our abilities. Like in the beginning of my career, I didn't dedicate enough time, I think, to writing. Started doing that on and on and on, and I was pushing myself every time out of this comfort zone. It really, really helped me to build my confidence. And then also, writing can ultimately serve as a tool for personal growth. It helps to overcome imposter syndrome, which again, I can totally relate to as myself, because you ultimately are documenting your expertise for that. And as I was writing this slide, I was thinking what would be a good example to demonstrate how writing helped a woman in tech to open the doors and get your name on the map. And one of the examples that came to my mind is Ada Lovelace. So I'm sure you're familiar with her. So she's often regarded as the first computer programmer, and she used writing as a crucial tool to make her voice heard and shape the future of computing, which is absolutely staggering now when you look back. And there are some of the examples that I've found on how her writing ultimately empowered her, and in grand scheme of things, influenced technology. So first of all, she translated and expanded on the analytical engine, right? So in 1942, she translated an article by the Italian mathematician about the Charles Babbage analytical engine. And she didn't just translate it, she actually added extensive notes that were 3 times longer than the original paper. And her writing explained how the machine could improve, how it could do more than just simple calculations. And that essentially enabled to put her name on the map, and added this extra layer of her actually adding her expertise to that. Within her notes, she wrote what is considered the first ever algorithm designed for a machine. She described it, and then ultimately, without this work that she did, this machine, the Babbage machine, would have been dismissed maybe as just another mechanical calculator. So it's quite amazing and inspiring, especially if you think that it's been pretty much, only over a century ago. And as a woman in the 19th century in tech, she clearly faced some barriers in formal scientific recognition, but by publishing her work and by writing under her own name, which also been quite rare back in the days, she ensured that her ideas were recorded in history. So her writing later inspired others as well, who used her work to develop a concept of modern computing in the 20th century. So I found this extremely, extremely empowering. And I hope you do too. And feel free to research more about how she actually did that, because even though it's been in 19th century, the method of writing and how she got herself out, I think, can be applicable these days as well. So that's some of the reflections and insights on writing that helps women to find their voice. And on the next slide, I wanted to talk with you about the particular ways and particular things that we can document and work on when it comes to writing to get our point across. And I've also prepared some examples, more recent examples rather than Ada Lovelace, which I hope will make it more tangible for you and also inspire. So in terms of what we can write about, so sharing personal experience, achievements, and milestones is something that is incredibly useful to do and for yourself and also for others. And that's something that many women in tech have done. So for example, Jennifer Aldrich, and apologies for all mispronunciations of all the surnames that might come in a bit. So Jennifer Aldrich, she was a UX designer. So she began blogging to share her experiences as a woman in tech industry. And one of her posts, A Decade as a Woman in the Tech Industry, detailed her journey and challenges, which ultimately resonated with many readers. And this exposure led her to having much more speaking engagements and further professional opportunities. And opened many doors to when it comes to your career. Then also documenting technical challenges, solutions, and industry issues is a great avenue of getting your writing across. And this especially is great to share on the particular technical aspects of you as being subject matter expert, for example, out there, and ultimately demonstrating your expertise. And again, many women did do that to make their voice heard. So, for example, Tanya Rasia, so she's a software engineer, and she shares free resources for developers, helping newcomers to the field of engineering and technology. And when it comes to all the names, I will post it later in the writing club for you to take a note. So don't worry that you can't write them off the back of my bad pronunciation, by the way. So right, on the next point, so sharing expertise and ideas through blogs and social media. So I think this most probably for me would be the most popular point, because I think we all have so many ideas about the things that we like and the things that we are good at and the things we specialize. And sometimes writing and brainstorming is a really great way how to go about it. And for example, Angie Jones, who's a senior developer, she advocates for writing extensively on test automation and how to build, and that ultimately helped her to build a really good and strong personal brand. Also, a founder of Femgineer, so you may be familiar with her. So her name is Punima Vijay Shankar. So again, apologies. She's actually is an engineer and entrepreneur. And off the back of the Femgineer, she has a blog and a teaching platform where she shares her experience on insights in the tech industry. And she writes a lot. And she writes not only about sort of the guidance that she provides to aspiring female engineers, but also she writes, and that enables her to be a thought leader and ultimately a teacher, and all of that led and opened the door for her to be a teacher in the major tech hubs in San Francisco. So as you can see, the examples of these ways of how women get their points across led them and opened them doors to many opportunities. And the last and not least, and I think maybe one of my favorite points actually when it comes to what to write about, is advocating for diversity and encouraging next generation. So here, one of the great examples that I found is Adobe's Senior Director of Ethical Innovation. So her name is Grace Yee, and she has shared her journey and insights on empowering women in technology through various platforms. And she does talks, she does writing blog posts, and that ultimately opened a lot of doors for the minorities that joined in, and that ultimately took on all the advice and writing that they did. So all of these amazing and inspirational women write about different types of topics, right? They all sort of not too exclusive amongst each other. I would say that personal experience can really overlap with the expertise and the industry issues and so on and so forth. But there is plenty, right? And this list over here is not exhaustive in any shape or form. So if there is more things that you want to write about, there's definitely no limits. And we talked about what we could write about, and I've covered some of the examples from other writers. But when it comes to actually where to publish, so that might be your next question. So there's many places where you can publish your writing, and I think especially these days, because the digital coverage is just immersed out there. So when it comes to writing, you can publish it on your personal blog. So some of the people and some of the professionals, they have their own platforms, or you can use LinkedIn, which of course has a platform for that as well. You also can try and publish your work in the industry magazines such as IE Spectre, Wired, MIT Technology Review, and that usually is something that is easier to do if you do it through your professional or through your employer sort of channel, especially if they have a relationship with some of these publications. You also can contribute to guest posts on some of the engineering websites. You can use more accessible platforms such as Medium or Dev.to. And also, one of the key things to mention here is that you can contribute, obviously, to Women Coding Community blog, but I'll speak about that in just a moment. So moving on to the next point. So like I said, writing about diversity, inclusion, and promoting next generation is one of the greatest way how to get your point across, especially when it comes to this experience in your industry. And I just wanted to re-emphasize the importance of that, because through writing we can really address societal norms and challenging stereotypes, because this essentially allows women to break down stereotypes, especially in male-dominated fields like tech. By sharing our stories, our success stories, our struggles, and the way we show and demonstrate resilience can really challenge the narrative that coding and tech in general is a men's field, right? Also, writing, I think, really important point for me personally, exposes these biases through hiring, through workplace culture, and also its broader technical practices in general. And again, there are many women, many professional women done that before. So for example, Tracy Chu's Open Call for Diversity Data in Tech Companies in 2013 been a very significant piece of writing, which ultimately helped to ignite the movement for greater transparency and inclusivity. So I personally find all of this extremely empowering, and if anything, I even part of me sort of feels motivated to be one of these amazing women myself and just, practice and write and get my ideas across. And sometimes you just really don't know what might spark this, great reaction from the audience, or even creating a movement. So it's all quite amazing. And all of us, we all have a story to tell. So it's just a matter of practicing and getting it out there, and I guess being brave as well. I think being brave is a very important variable of all of this. All right. So that was on the sort of theoretical part when it comes to it. And before we are practicing, I was thinking to discuss very quickly, some of the tips and tricks for empowering writing, because it's all great, when someone tells you how amazing it is to be writing, and feel empowered. But the question is, how do you actually do it? So again, this is not exhaustive list in any shape or form. It's just some of my thoughts that I've put together. But from my experience, from my perspective, to ensure or to attempt to do an impactful writing, it's really important that we focus on structure, organization, and content. So first of all, it's really important, and I can't emphasize this enough. It's important to have clear purpose and the message. So we need to start with defining our objectives, right? So in our writing, we need to know what we want to achieve with our writing. So whether we want to share knowledge or we want to advocate for change or inspire others, we need to be clear about what our message is from the very beginning. We need to have also a main point, right? So we need to ensure that the reader knows exactly what we're going to write about and why it matters. So, for example, if we're addressing gender disparity in engineering, we need to make sure that this statement and this argument is framed clearly. So once we've done that, we need to ensure that we structure our writing with clarity, right? And the most conventional way when it comes to having that clarity, and I'm sure you are familiar with this, is ensuring that we always have introduction, we have a main body, and we also have a conclusion, right? So a couple of words on each of those. When it comes to introduction, we need to hook our readers right away with a compelling statement, anecdote, or a fact, whatever is applicable. We need to clearly outline the purpose of the article or the essay, ultimately our piece of writing. If we can, we need to try and provide a roadmap of what we will cover in the piece. So what I find, and I think it also depends on people's experiences and sometimes even, where they're from and which sort of education they followed. A lot of people sometimes get very surprised that, oh, do I need to cover all of this in introduction? But it gives away kind of the surprise. Why wouldn't I keep this until the end, actually? Well, no. From my experience, the most impactful and clear writing is when in the introduction you actually have a very clear set of objectives of what you're going to do and actually what is the ending or what is your major conclusion of what you're trying to say. So I hope this helps. And again, it takes practice, so don't despair, but I hope this guidance helps when it comes to introduction. And then when it comes to body of paragraph, so the main body, right? So it's important to start each paragraph with a strong sentence that encapsulates the point you're trying to make. We need to try to organize everything logically. And very important is that we need to use evidence and examples, right? So why don't we start with our main body? You start with the argument and then you essentially prove or disprove your argument by having evidence and examples. Also, I would advise keeping paragraphs very concise. So avoid overwhelming the reader with very long sentences, with long blocks of text. Try to keep it as simple as possible. And then when it comes to conclusion, I feel like it's maybe one of the easiest bits, actually. When it comes to conclusion, we need to reinstate the key point of our writing, right? We need to aim to bring a fresh perspective or a call for action. So we can summarize everything that we tried to say, and then essentially write one or two sentences on what's next. So what? So when it comes to writing, the so what question is really important. Also try ending with a compelling thought that motivates the reader to take action again, to reflect or continue the conversation. And when it comes to structuring the writing for clarity, a couple of weeks ago, well, just before Christmas, actually, we held with Writing Club a really great session on the pyramid principle. So the pyramid principle, it's a method of writing that allows you to form your writing logically and clearly. The session we've conducted was great, and we had really great feedback. It's on YouTube and now uploaded on our channel. So to complement this point, feel free to go back and have a look at what we discussed, how to ultimately write and implement pyramid principle. So I think it should be really, really useful. All right, moving on to the next point. Organizing.
Julia,
Yeah,
just before you move on, there is one question for you.
yeah, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the choosing the tone of the writing? Is there a suitable tone for specific kind of writing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a great question, actually. Thank you. So I think when it comes to the tone, it all comes down to the audience that you're trying to address, right? So if you're writing, for example, a piece of blog or the article, let's say at work, right? So you need to ensure that your writing is formal or at least semi-formal, right? You wouldn't maybe start your writing with a joke per se, right? It's kind of a more formal setting, so the tone needs to be corresponding, right? If you're writing it at your personal blog where your community, your readers, maybe your peers, your friends, then maybe you can have much more relaxed approach to how you write. And also, for example, if you're writing your blog for um, um, kind of a technical audience, the use of technical terms and abbreviations may be totally applicable. But let's say if you're writing for someone, for the audience that is may not be as deeply familiar with the topic, and let's say it's an introduction to some sort of technical topic, you want to avoid using very complex sentences, very complex words, right? So you want to keep your tone much more easygoing. So always keep in mind what's your target audience, because otherwise it will be really hard for them to engage if the tone or the language is mismatched.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That was a question for me because I really wanted to just have that clarity on whether um writing on my blog and writing technical content,
Mhm.
whether using the relaxed approach but still making it technical was the right approach. Because it feels like sometimes I talk about some things like I want people to be able to relate to them, but at the same time, I'm worried that it doesn't sound as technical as a technical post should be. So,
Mhm.
trying to find that balance that made me ask that question.
Yeah, because if this is your personal blog, right? So I think you need to take some time to reflect on, so what is your brand? So do you want to come across as more professional, as a more sort of, let's say technical term orientated, or is your brand, let's say, more playful and maybe a little bit more of a joke engineer?
Mm.
So you can sort of think about that. And also you can always break down your blog into different themes, right? So you can have one theme which is dedicated specifically to technical terms, and you will focus there on sort of heavier writing. And then there may be a section where you reflect on the conference that you attended, on the article that you read, and that's where maybe you can be a little bit more playful. So it's sort of again, going back to the main point. So what is that you're trying to achieve, right? And then I think based on these maybe subsections or your blog, corresponding readers will be directed where what suits them better, right? Because if I'm, let's say, looking to learn about specific or technical term, I will go straight away. If it's the evening and I'm having my cup of tea, I'm more interested to read about how you had fun at some of the tech conference, for example. So it's kind of like maneuvering that. There's no really, I think, easy answer to that, unfortunately.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'm a little bit conscious of time, so I'm gonna skim through quickly through the next ones. So point 3, organizing ideas effectively. So use subheadings, bullet points, and logical flows. Summarize your key takeaways. So again, this one I think is slightly tricky because it depends on the writing. So if you're writing academic essay, they don't particularly like bullet points, right? They sort of like nice and flowy text. If you're writing something like a blog post, the simplicity is your best friend, right? So use subheadings so it's really clear what you're trying to say. Break it through the bullet points and summarize key takeaways after each of the paragraph. So this will just make it much easier to digest to the reader. And then make your writing relatable and and then accessible. So, like I said, avoid jargon unless really necessary. Use storytelling so you can share personal experience or anecdotes to make your writing more relatable. Again, based on the audience that you're trying to sort of attract or to get your points across. And one of the key points that I think is quite important as well is empathy and inclusivity. So ensure that your writing includes a diverse range of experiences. Talk about the benefits of inclusive work environment, mentorship, and how diverse perspective improve innovation, right? So again, that depends on the subject that you write, because sometimes maybe, long consideration of inclusivity might not be applicable, but I think it's something that always worth to keep in mind, because if you're writing, you demonstrate that you consider the variety of perspective, you looked at variety of resources, and you consider different type of experiences that other colleagues, other scientists experience, then that sort of adds a great value from my perspective. Edit and revise. So again, that's quite important, but ensure clarity over complexity. That's my general advice. And that's something that I personally struggled with, because in my culture, we been taught to write super long sentences. And when I moved to UK when I was 18 and I started going to university, I really struggled, because I always been told, write 10 word sentences. And it took me really long time to master that. But ultimately, once I did, even for me, my writing became clearer. Peer review. So when I say revise, what I also mean, so on top of you revising your writing, ask advice and ask for feedback from your peers, from your friends, from your parents, from your colleagues, from your mentors. The more eyes are laid down on your writing, the more feedback, and again, that diverse perspective will be provided and ultimately will improve your writing. And then once all that is done, use your platform. So choose relevant platform for promoting your writing and ultimately engage with readers, right? So whether it's LinkedIn, Medium, women coding community, right? Promote your work. Don't be shy. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't be shy. You did all this hard work. You thought about your article, you wrote it, all of your friends, colleagues gave you feedback. You did all this hard work. Don't be shy. Promote it on your LinkedIn, promote it to your friends, promote it to us, share it with us on Slack. There will be people that will be really happy to read and immerse themselves in your experience. So that's very quickly on what to consider to ensure that your writing is sending that empowering message across. And now, on the third part of our session today, I wanted to spend some time on doing a writing activity. So we're inviting you, so myself and Madhura, for you to write a short piece on a moment when you felt empowered, or a message you would give to empower women. Let's spend about 10-15 minutes and try to write on some of the topics that, for example, I've suggested here for you, and then as a group discuss it. So you can write about what inspired you to start coding. You can write about the challenge that you faced in tech, or the advice that you potentially would give to a younger self or someone who is starting in tech. Again, these are suggestions. Feel free to write about whatever you want. But yeah, let's try to spend 10 minutes and then just discuss. And as you're trying writing, or at least as you build the plan for your writing, feel free to ask questions, because I want us on a high level to go through that experience and then share the challenges, the questions, and anything that potentially brings you uncertainty when it comes to writing. And remember, it's about authenticity. It's not about perfection. So yeah, good luck, and talk to me and Madhura in this 10-15 minutes. And we are really happy to help. And
Julia, it might help if you show the point slide. Yeah, this one.
Yeah. I'm gonna put these back. And and I hope they will help. So we obviously don't expect you to write, 2 pages of text, but maybe even on a high level, like a plan of what you could write using these points. Hopefully that would help.
Could you please go back at first and show us the topics? Yes, please.
There you
For
go.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just the examples. It can be anything else. So
Yeah,
whatever,
I know.
yeah, whatever is, whatever comes to your mind when it comes to your empowerment journey, take a stab at it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
You can go now. On the next page.
Just let me know, guys, if you want to move at any of the slides.
Ginda, siema, trochę ginda ty dar, myśli terapii. Ginda. Ginda ramy.
Oh, I think Eka, you are not muted.
Sorry, I think someone needs to mute.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Julia, you said it was fine to just write out maybe like an outline of what the content will look like, right? Because I feel like I'm not able to think on the spot.
I totally get it. No, I totally get it. I think starting with like a plan, maybe some of the brainstorming, I think that would be good.
Okay.
Right? So first of all, try to think, what's the ultimate purpose? What's the ultimate key message? And then just maybe break this message into, let's say, 3 points. And these 3 points can be your main body, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So do you have a topic in mind, Ira? Or you're still thinking?
I'm still thinking.
Okay.
I'll probably write about.
Your time starts now, Ira. This next 30 seconds you have. Oh, no, take your time. I'm just kidding. So, roughly speaking, would you just start with the topic to begin with?
Yeah. So because I think topic ultimately is your main message, right?
Yeah.
And so at least on a high level, right? Because that will then be tied into your introduction. So if you, for example, want to give advice to younger self, that can be a good start. And then you can break this into 3 different subjects, right? So let's say, what you could do differently now when you look back, what advice you would give yourself, what define opportunities and challenges and stuff like that. So one of the common things that people discuss in the main body is challenges and opportunities. So they sort of look at different extremes of the topic, right? So that can be really helpful.
Yeah. So, I was just thinking about, when I moved from, let's say, tech lead to engineering manager, that journey, if I were to write about it, I think at that point I would say the challenges you face when you move from lead to being a manager. So that would be probably a start at that point. And then see how do you overcome them.
Yeah, that's a great topic because
I don't know what to end it with. So you start with you have challenges. You then probably move on to how do you overcome those challenges.
Maybe opportunities. Like, so you've been in your new role for a while now, right? And you definitely understood the challenges, but to put this on a more like kind of a positive note, when you're writing, you can say, I've really looked forward to moving to this role and it's great. There are these challenges which make me even better professional and I work on them. But what's incredible is that I found that there is so many opportunities actually that come with it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's
ending on a positive note, actually. Yeah, okay.
important. Yeah, I think, sustaining positivity and a kind of a good vibe to your writing
Yeah.
is
Yeah, that's true.
here
That's
to empower others, right? Because bottom line is, when it comes to any challenges, we always need to turn them into opportunities, right? So
Yeah,
lemons.
no, true. I was just thinking, what would you, because I was thinking then settling into the new role, that would be the one. But I think putting a positive spin on it does make sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because I mean, it's always tricky in your role. It's regardless if it's outside of comfort zone or something you've done before, there can be challenges when it comes to learning about the organization,
Right.
engaging with stakeholders. There can be all sorts of things, and we all experience them differently. So
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
who have the different move as you, they may read your article and go, oh wow, and I didn't think about this. It's actually quite helpful because they were
yeah,
focused on their own stuff. So
yeah. Sometimes I feel it's easy to write a technical article. Like, you pick a topic, let's say AWS Lambda or something, and you know what you're going to write.
yeah.
These are not abstract topics, but at least more emotional, I would say, at this point.
I agree. Because
Yeah.
that's why I tried whenever I'm writing, I always just, for example, most of the writing that I do is focused on maybe sharing how I build like a project or just
Mhm.
like what I learned from it. But structuring other things, I just feel like my thoughts are everywhere and I just write as I'm thinking and it's a bit messy when someone is reading it, but I'm not sure whether that's like the perfect tone for that kind of post or if it needs to be more organized. So like it's just me just being everywhere, just doing whatever.
Mm. Yeah, I would also say, don't overthink it too much, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Because you also need to think about, what type of person you are and how you like to engage and communicate,
Mm.
So there's no one, there are some sort of, key things you need to consider, like introduction, main body, and conclusion. But overall, it needs to go through you as a person, for you as a professional, and that needs to kind of go through your writing
Yeah.
too. So it doesn't need to be perfect, it needs to be authentic.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it should speak for you as a brand, right? What you're trying to communicate. So because you can sort of write it in a very different tone, but how long can you keep that tone will be the question.
Hmm.
So, yeah, how's the writing going for everyone else? Any thoughts, anything from anyone else?
Don't be shy, guys.
I've
Any
started something. I've started something about myself, but I'm not sure. I'm trying.
maybe some of the points that you wanted to talk
Yeah.
through in more detail, or let us know.
If you want, you can just post it in the Slack channel as well.
Madhura, how are we on time? Because I have my sharing.
Five minutes, 5 minutes to 8 actually. It's 7:55.
Okay, excellent. Because I'm sharing my screen, so I don't have the time option for some reason.
How many minutes do we have left?
We lost track of time, Ira. Now take your time, or if you're done, we can go ahead.
No.
Yeah, let's spend a couple of minutes and
Yeah.
then I can tell you some of the next steps when it comes to your writing. And that hopefully will be a nice closing point.
I'm going to send the feedback form as well. Think I think Julia, you should proceed because I don't know if the meeting will close or not at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, sure. It should be fine. But yes, I'm conscious of time and really sorry for going a bit over. But what I wanted to finish off with the positive note, because positive note is always important, as we just discussed. So now, guys, you've practiced, I hope, little bit when it comes to your writing, how to structure, how to get your point across, and some of the main points. And I really don't want this writing that you did and this planning and brainstorming to go into nowhere. So actually, what you can do is to work a little bit more on your drafts and then make your voice heard through Women Coding Community blog. So it is really simple. So finish drafting your blog posts, share them with us via the form, and Madura will drop a link in the chat just in a bit. So it's a very simple Google form for you just to provide us with some details about your writing. Then what usually happens, we review them and provide you some feedback potentially for some changes, maybe for a little bit of improvement. And then once we get to the final draft, we post it. So feel free to go to our website and have a look at the examples of what other volunteers and contributors have written. So since the beginning of the women coding community, we already built up a really good set of blog posts there on different subjects, as you will see. So please go and feel and hopefully you will feel inspired. And if any help or guidance is needed in terms of your writing, don't be shy. Reach out to us again via Slack on the Prog Blog Submission or Prog Writing Club channels, and we will be there to help you. Also, feel free to reach out in private to me or Madura, and we will try to help you. But I really hope that this session today was helpful. Don't leave all your brainstorming. Don't let it go for waste. Finish them off, share them with us, and hopefully they will appear on Women Coding Community blog. So again, thank you so much. Make sure to join our community on our LinkedIn, on the on the Instagram as well. And make sure to surf through our website. There's a lot of useful information about the projects and about all sorts of things, including how to volunteer for us. So thank you so very much. I hope you found this useful. And yes, and that's pretty much it for today. And if you like this session, follow the next writing club sessions.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have put the links all in the chat. So thank you so much. Thanks, Julia. That was really good.
Thank you, guys.
And
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Let me stop recording.
Thank you so much, guys. I have a question.
Yes.